Thank you, sir, for joining us. May I take this opportunity to invite our dignitaries on stage, Mr. K. Pandiarajan, Minister for Tamil Official Language and Tamil Culture, Mr. Jeremy Pilmore, Bedford, British Deputy High Commissioner, Chennai, Ms. Anjana Ghosh, Director, Marketing and Business Development, Bisleri International Private Limited, Mr. Navaneeth L V, CEO, The Hindu Group, Publishing Private Limited, Mr. Vinay Tonse, Chief General Manager, SBI. Can I please have you on stage? Can I request the audience to please rise for the Tamil Thai Vartha?
நீராறும் கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்தை கெழிலொழுகும் சீராறும் மதனமென திகழ்வரத கண்டமிதில் எக்கணமும் அதில் சிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறை நுதலும் தரித்தனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிழமை திறம்பியந்து செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே.
Let us begin the auspicious moment here with the lighting of the KUTHU. I request the dignitaries to please join us in lighting the KUTHU as we are here to celebrate this beautiful moment. A beautiful beginning to South India Media Summit Season 2 2019. Thank you. Request the dignitaries to please be seated. I now request Mr. K. Pandiarajan, Minister for Tamil Official Language and Tamil Culture, to declare the summit open and share a few words.
I have great pleasure in declaring this second South India Media Summit, the Federal South India Media Summit 2019. Let me declare it open. It's eminently apt at this moment to recall a very interesting quote given by the son of the soil, C.K. Prahalad, when he was asked in 2004, a month before he passed away. He was asked a very intriguing question. He was asked, what is the nature of the world as we see outside? People asked him, we keep seeing from a nomadic world, the world we moved into an agricultural era, and from an agricultural era, we moved into an industrial era. From industrial era, we moved into information era. What's the nature of the world as it's unfolding before us? That was around the time when The World is Flat book had created such a stir that the world is a very different world. Words like the New World Order has started doing the rounds. When he was asked this question, He responded, Pat, he said, it's the era of give, G-I-V-E. G for governance, I for innovation, V for value, and E for entrepreneurship. And when he said this, he put a special emphasis on the word value. That was around the time in your industry, the media industry, things started turning upside down. The so-called digital media had started carving a niche for itself when ad spends started getting committed to this sector called the digital media. From the print media and the visual media, something called as digital media started showing the rounds. And of course, OOH as an acronym started happening, out of home, which included all outdoor advertising, which had a digital component. And it's very interesting that the year 2004, when Prahlad mentioned this, was the year when ad spends started showing a qualitatively different trend in the world. I just read the kind of industry media has become. I was very, very touched to see that India, the ad spends, if you were to look at this industry, you actually registered the fastest growth among all the countries in the world. Last year, we had about 15% growth. This year, we're projected to do 14%. And the world growth rate is stagnating at around 4.3%. We have actually grown at roughly 4 times the world in terms of the ad spend, though in terms of size, we are only about 80,678 crores last year, which is roughly what, $11.5 billion in an industry which is probably 15 times this size in the world. We are not very, very large as a market shareholder, but we are very significant as the fastest, one of the fastest growing ad spend markets in the world. And the composition is also quite interesting from what I see. And days are gone when print was all dominant. Today, the share of print is hardly 23%. From a time not too long ago, which was hardly 20 years ago, this would have been as high as 50% of the market share. So here is an industry which is going through humongous changes. And I'm very delighted to declare this meet open, where a day of learning, where all the stakeholders in this industry, it is classified as a CCI in the World Study of Industries done by the London Business School, where cultural and creative industries is a category which has been evolved. And they've actually declared this to be the fastest growing industry from an employment point of view around the world. And as one of the top 3 sectors of CCI, media today has been registering one of the highest growth rates from an employment point of view. And I have great pleasure in declaring this open. I want to just look at the touchstone that Prahlad gave for success in this new era of give. G for governance. I hope this meet will discuss these 3 parts of what I call as the touchstones of any industry. So the first is the governance in this industry. As you would know, media is fairly unregulated, and I would hazard a guess that it's one of the freest media anywhere in the world, I would say. The 4th pillar of democracy, so to speak. And I would imagine that we have much, much higher levels of freedom compared to most countries in the world. So the governance has to be largely self-governance. And that self-governance, regulatory bodies, Press Council of India, and a whole lot of bodies, I'll like this forum to discuss and distill your wisdom in the form of a monograph as to what kind of governance changes you'd like to seek from the media point of view. The second, of course, is the innovation part. There have been many, many innovative aspects which have come from a technology point of view. in the last 10 years, the most dominant thinking in the technology world is platform thinking. Platform is the most important buzzword in the last 10 years, whether it's Uberization, which is a process by which you create a platform where the buyer and the seller comes and does business themselves. There are some who say internet itself is nothing more than a platform. Okay, so the idea of platform thinking, which is the most important driver of innovation in most industries, seem to be transforming media also. Media buying and media selling especially. Let me wish my friends, Fourth Dimension, who have in a way triggered this summit, all the very best, because in a way they are in a platform business, value-added platform business, I would say. So I would imagine the value-added platform players who have been abound in this industry, in the media industry, as in many other industries, are bringing in a huge dose of innovation. Get the best bang for your ad spend buck kind of a mantra. And with that, emerging many, many innovative ideas where now people are using AI, people are using analytics to kind of get an idea about the impact your ad spend is creating. Of course, now even political parties are retaining now the analytics plus media impact understanding organizations. The last elections, parliament elections, apparently supposed to have had over 1,000 crores being spent by the political parties on these so-called cephalogical, analytical, and media impact agencies, which is a new animal in the media play, really, where there are parties I know who made very distinctive changes in the even the manifestos based on the analysis and the impact analysis created by, understood by some of the organizations right here. And there are, of course, political leaders who used to even make changes in the costumes they wear, in the kind of words they choose and the slogans they choose, and the places they visit, the postures that they take, based on the impact on the larger community, impact on the larger masses. So this entire new subsector called media analytics, partly born out of web analytics, now coming in as a separate domain itself, is to me a very, very innovative thing. So innovation. Value is the thing I like you to again deliberate. The valuations in this industry last year has seen a dip, is what I hear, media and the associated industry sectors. But don't forget that it's hardly 10 years since the media companies have started getting valuations. I still remember, if you include print media, visual media, and internet media, digital media together, the real low valuations, I used to remember when my company I took through the venture capital route. At those times, media companies' valuations used to be very, very low at that time because many of the governments did not recognize media companies as legitimate companies in the first place at that point in time. I still remember that around 99, 2000 kind of a period where a major demand used to be to recognize media as an industry. And now I think days have passed when now the questions which are getting raised, like for instance, Tamil Nadu government, now for our scheme for the new generation entrepreneurs, what we call as needs, now media is seen as equal an industry as a manufacturing industry, which is now, you can get 5 crores of your bank funding, 25 lakhs of it is subsidy, and the rest of the 4.75 crores is very, very hugely subsidized loan, hardly 3% interest is what you get at that. So similarly, many, many state governments have extended the so-called industry status to even funding the media, new media creations. That's how you see much less of the kind of monopoly which you used to have, or duopoly which you used to have in the initial period of media sectors, especially the sector relating to cable connections. today, it's a very hot topic yesterday and today, as far as the cable connections here in this place is concerned. Many states it's been so. So breaking through monopolies and duopolies in this sector of media has again been an important contribution that governments has done. And the fourth one is entrepreneurship. In my view, I like to underline the fact that media has some of the highest per capita entrepreneurs in this whole country among any industry, if you were to look at. So being on your own is so easy in the media industry, and you have been fostering entrepreneurship in a certain way. I like to raise in this meet, I want you to even discuss, can this organization which is getting created here, the media organizations, foster a venture capital or at least a micro venture capital for media as a sector? If you can do that, I'm sure there are many, many young media interested people who would be wanting to be on their own, spinning away from the formal jobs that they have elsewhere. And it's an industry where very little entry barriers exist, but I think you need to create support mechanisms for the e-entrepreneurship to flourish forth. So I'd like to finish with the same quote by Prahlad. This is an era of governance, innovation, value, and entrepreneurship. On these four touchstones can this day of learning blossom forth to create some pointers for where this industry should go with all the stakeholders, the creative people, the media interlocutors, the kind of owners who are here, the entrepreneurs who are creating media companies, and of course the technology people who are providing the infrastructure for media to capture all the newest technologies and take this to be number one in the world. I was very, very sorry to see that we are only 10th largest in terms of media industry in the world, and I really hope that the time will come where we'll be number one in the world as far as the media industry is concerned. And if our GDP-wise, we are at number 7 in the world, and we are only number 10 in terms of media industry size in the world, we need to catch up with the rest of the world. We need to be truly global in terms of the media content that gets created here. And all these are pointers to the future. May your second media summit reach the summit of excellence. All the very best. Thank you.
With simple letters, you've set the context with absolute clarity and speaking from the heart. Thank you so much, sir. I now invite Mr. Shankar B., Chief Executive Officer at Fourth Dimension Media Solutions Private Limited, to present the memento to our dignitaries on stage.
Now you're gone. I realize my love for you was strong, and I miss you here. Now you're gone. I can't wait.
We have a group photo, please. I request our dignitaries to come together for a group photo. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us here today. We request you to join us on ground as we're all set. Once again, it gives me immense pleasure in inviting each and every one of you. Ladies and gentlemen, the Federal.com presents South India Media Summit Season 2 2019, powered by The Hindu, co-presented by Star Vijay. The resounding success of Season 1 has motivated us to bring you Season 2, where decision makers and business leaders will discuss, debate, and guide the audience on topics that have gripped the imagination of the industry and general public at large. Designed and curated by India's largest media outsourcing company, Fourth Dimension Media. A special mention of our sponsors, The Federal, The Hindu, Star Vijay, SBI, Radio City, Zapper, V6 News, VILAKKU Newspaper, Digvijay News, Media 95, ICE Media, Mathrubhumi, Pudhiya Talaimurai, Pudu Yugam, Republic TV, India Today Group, Chennai Live 104.8 FM, Pure Media, MediaNewsForYou.com, MXM, Benchmark Events, Chirag Din Shirts, The Advertising Club, Bangalore. Our sessions are being broadcast live on MediaNewsForYou.com. So let's go ahead and begin. Making things happen to shaping things, his journey has been a rich one with over 25 years of experience in leadership roles across 3 industries. Managing Director at Racold Thermo Limited India, leaders in water heating solutions, Mr. Ramnath Venkatram will now talk to us about southern states and its contributions. So can I please have you on stage?
Good morning to all of you. That was a very interesting speech from the minister. And as I was sitting there, it set me thinking in terms of what I'm going to be talking to you guys all about. First and foremost thing, thanks a lot to Shankar and Fourth Media. So when I got a call from Shankar saying that he's doing this event, I had no clue that the season 1 had already happened. And I then started investigating about the event. And I said, why did this event not happen a decade back? Okay, and then started looking at whether there are similar events for North, East, West. And I didn't find anything, as a platform as this one is. So thanks a lot, Shankar, for giving this opportunity. There are 2 USAs that everybody is aware of. One USA everybody is aware of, which is the United States of America. And the other USA for me is United South Area of India. One talks about Trumpism, and the other one I'm going to be talking about opportunism. Okay, I basically worked across 4 sectors, from FMCG, starting my early days in Cadbury's, then moved on to telecom in Nokia, then moved into healthcare, into Becton, and now into consumer durables. And I have seen the role of media and also the role of South really evolve over these periods of time. Some statistics that I was trying to gather about South and why South, in my view, from a brand perspective and from an opportunity perspective is important is first, many people even today make the mistakes of looking at South as 4 states. Okay, to me, it's about 5 states plus 3 union territories, and people conveniently forget the union territories as well. Okay, and that's massive. The other perspective of looking at South is you can actually embed, if you look at the population of South, Germany, plus Italy, plus Turkey, plus Taiwan. Okay, so if you add the populations of these 4 countries, okay, that's equivalent to the size of South. Okay, but when you look at the economy size of those 4 countries and compare to South, I think that's where the huge opportunity exists. Okay, and how fast are we able to transcend that opportunity is all up to us. South contributes almost about 45% of India's GDP. Okay, and I think our Honorable Prime Minister has a target of reaching about 5 trillion. And if that were to happen, okay, then South itself has to be about 2 trillion. So what India's GDP today is, okay, would be equal to South's GDP in about 4 to 5 years from now. Okay, today it's roughly about 850 billion. So that's a huge road for growth that lies ahead for all of us. 20% of the population, but 30% of the tax revenue collections of the country comes from South. The only other two states which significantly contribute actually Maharashtra and Gujarat. So 20% population, 30% revenues. And in my view, it's almost like a CSR. I think South collectively as 4 states or 5 states and 3 union territories actually have been doing CSR for the rest of the country because all the revenues that get collected here actually gets invested in growing the other parts of the country which are not as developed as South is. If you look at the urban population, okay, South, 33% of the population is urban population, and contrast that to India, which is at about 24%. So a fairly high propensity to spend of highly evolved consumers as far as South is concerned. 92% of India's coffee production comes from South. Okay, 60% of the India's SEZ is housed in South. And almost about 2/3 of India's pump and motor industry lies in the South. Okay, if you look at the per capita income of South, okay, it's almost about 30–40% higher than India. It's almost about 130,000 Indian rupees as compared to about 80,000 rupees, which is for the country. So that again, it gives you an indication in terms of how important South is. A very interesting study was done in 2018 by IMRB and Kantar. And what they did was to study the aspiration index of the millennials across the various parts of the country. And very interestingly, the South's millennials aspiration index was the highest amongst all. And that personally surprised me because I would have imagined West to actually lead that. But incidentally, it was South which led that. Even if you look at the SEC-A, SEC-B population, okay, which again tells you the propensity to spend in South, is almost about 33% of the households are SEC-A, SEC-B in South. And contrast that to about under 20% as far as the country is concerned. So I just threw some numbers to just tell you, how big South is and what is the South potential. In any industry, for example, there are certain vectors of growth, and there are certain enablers of growth. And the vectors of growth, many of you are aware, good education, good healthcare, infrastructure, manufacturing, retail, and so on and so forth. And from an enabling perspective, 2 axes, digital axis as well as physical axis. What I'm going to be talking about to you is my personal story in terms of my relationship with South and my recent experiment with South and how it's paid off in Racold. We are into a thermic comfort area and we manufacture water heaters for the industrial segment as well as the consumer segment, both into solar as well as electric as well. So when I took over the organization in 2015, the first thing, it was a new sector for me, so I was trying to understand. I asked my team, tell me one thing from a water heater perspective, which part of the country is the highest in terms of the market size? And invariably, everyone said it's north because it's the coldest out there, followed by east, and then followed by west, and south is last, 40 degrees. It's, south basically has 3 temperatures, hot, hottest. And therefore, there's, by that nature, the water heater market is the smallest. And when I looked at the first set of data, I looked at it, and we had a less than single-digit market share. But somewhere, my mind said, it cannot be true, because having worked for brands like Nokia and other categories, I said South was extremely, extremely big. Then I reached out to my friends in media. Okay, and those days, JWT and O&M, were the ad agencies, and so I had some good friends there and started talking about it. I said, I think, Ram, you need to get a little more deeper. It's also surprising for us. And one of the things that we did was, gone are the days when national strategy works. Today in India, if you have to be successful, you have to get hyper-local. You have to win market by market, region by region, because the nuances are very, very different. And that is when I started looking at data. So I had the first pulse data, which is equivalent to the GfK data in the water heater industry. And something shocked me. The data was staring in my eyes, and it said 40% of the water heater market lies in South. And contrast that to the kind of temperatures that you have in South. And it was absolutely mind-boggling. And I said, there is something wrong here. Okay, and that's probably why the famous cliche is there, saying that data tells, but everything else sells, right? So immediately I launched into, called a couple of agencies and got into a consumer research to find out why would South contribute to 40% of the water heater market when it's so hot here. And believe me, some of the insights actually surprised me. First, The South consumers are very, very different. You know, they're bound by traditions and habits. Because being a South Indian myself, I remember, and I couldn't relate, my grandmother used to get up early morning at about 4 o'clock in the morning. And they would not enter the kitchen unless until they had their bath. And it was fairly, not cold, but the weather was not conducive for having cold water bath. Okay. Secondly, from a therapeutic perspective, in South India, people actually have hot water bath. Third, being a tropical climate area and with high humidity, people actually preferred hot water bath compared to cold water bath. And the last reason was, people said, I want to have a hot water bath because it regenerates me, because the cold water just temporarily refreshes me. And I said, that's great insights. And then I started looking at, okay, how do we now harness this opportunity? So there are a couple of things we did. We said, look, we need to address the market from a physical reach perspective and also from a digital reach perspective. The physical part was fairly not very tough. It was fairly easy because that's what we've been doing over the years. Okay, in terms of how do you reach to markets, how do you get into the relevant channels, how do you get into stores. And interestingly, compared to the rest of the country, South retail is one of the most evolved retails that you'll find. You'll find a national chain of stores, regional chain of stores, local chain of stores, and even very strong mom and pop stores. Okay, all you have to do is to reach the right channel with the right value proposition. The interesting thing was about the digital access. And that was a little interesting from a South perspective. Because getting the physical access to the market is like getting your infantry right in the army. Digital is about the air cover, which is equally important. And my theory in digital is extremely important. And I still believe in today's world, people talk a lot about digital, but in terms of action, they hardly do less than 1% of what they're ideally supposed to do. And therefore, I coined this word called REAL, R-E-A-L, for my digital team in my company. And I said, R stands for reach. Okay, and even today, 95% of the brands are still focusing only on reach. The next E stands for engagement. There are about less than 5% brands who have started to engage with consumers. But the third and fourth, which is the ALN, which is acting after engaging, and after acting, the last L starts for listening to the consumers and their feedback. We're nowhere. And it's a virtuous cycle. So you reach the consumers, you engage with the consumers, then you start acting with the consumers, and then start listening to feedback, both positive and negative. Okay? So we started that program, and I said, look, I want to listen to what the South consumers are telling me digitally. And South consumers necessarily does not mean the ones who consume my brand, but anybody directly, indirectly who are in touch with my brand. And believe me, it was just not the consumers and their feedback. It was also our own employees, and in what type of feedback they were giving in Glassdoor, LinkedIn, blah, 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 whole place. So we started to measure the digital conversations in terms of trying to understand where the brand is. And then we said, at one end, we need to get the brand right for South, because one of the insights also told us that we were not even in the top 7 position in terms of consideration set. And I said, getting to 1 is ambitious, but first we need to get into the top 3. So we made a very South-specific advertisement, okay, touching on the idioms of South, their emotional core. And South consumers are more brand-led than value-led for the rest of the country, okay? And we did this, and very, very focused way we looked at digital conversations. Because today is an era of what I call as micro-consumer trade unionism. Thanks to WhatsApp, InstaChat, all those stuff, you make one mistake as a brand, and suddenly you see conversations happening around 10 people, the 10 multiplies to 100, and by the time you realize, it's all over the place. Okay, so you have to constantly keep monitoring that. So we got, the whole media right. We got the digital part of the strategy right. We got the physical strategy right. It took us about 4 to 5 months. Okay, but the good news was, 5th month onwards, and this happened in about September of 2017, until last month on month, we've been gaining more than about 1.5% share. And today, the brand is almost into the top 3 in terms of consideration set. That's one. We're actually number 3. Okay, and we're into a healthy double-digit market share. Okay, and that's where you realize, the relevance and this opportunity that South gives you. And from a media perspective, it's very interesting because South has isolated media as far as the 4 states are concerned, or the 5 states are concerned. and therefore your ability to invest. So sometimes, you don't have the luxury of, having huge amount of monies to invest in GRPs across all. And South gives you the opportunity of actually going state by state and really going deep and really attacking the consumers. And some of the, brand marketers inside this room would agree with me that even today we struggle with the Hindi belt, because you really don't have a measure in terms of, what percentage of the Hindi belt have you reached and whether it's working or not. The numbers might grow, but the numbers might be actually growing irrespective of your reach. But South, your ability to basically measure the ROI that you're getting for every rupee of investment that you're making in the brand, in media, is absolutely fantastic. And we actually got more than a 50% return on investment, okay, from all our marketing investments and media investment in the South. So my two bit to you is, please focus on this USA. It's very interesting, huge opportunities, $800 billion to about $2 trillion. That's a huge part. I think what's important is please focus on data. Data tells, get into deep consumer insights, okay? And it's all about, rest is all about executing and getting it there. So thank you for listening to me patiently and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Check. Sir, can you please stay back? Thank you so much for giving us beautiful insight into Southern States and its contribution. We'd like to thank you with a memento. May I request Mr. Bharat Vishwanathan, Chief Operating Officer at 4th Dimension Media Solutions, to present the memento to a fantastic speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause. We also welcome Mr. Arnab Goswami, who is here with us today, with a nice big resounding round of applause. Thank you, sir. Our next speaker has shaped the Indian automotive industry. I request Mr. Venkatram Mamillapalle, Country CEO and Managing Director, Renault India Operations, to address us on the importance of South India. Ladies and gentlemen, a nice big round of applause for our next speaker.
Good morning, everyone. I'm very honored to be here. Before I start, let me introduce myself and my brand, which I represent. Renault in India, I represent, and which is 8 years old in the country, and #1 European brand in India. We make cars in Chennai, in Oragadam plant, with a capacity of 480,000, which we have installed in 640 acres. We sell famous models like Duster, Kwid, and we are going to launch a new car called Triber in this month. End of this month, you will see this car in the market, which we revealed on 19th of June in Delhi. And we have 500,000 customers, 5 lakh customers today, and we have 300,000 customers only for the model Kwid, and which is a very successful model, what we have. And we are coming up with various new other models, and our home base is Chennai, with a technical center which houses about 7,000 to 8,000 engineers serving the world market in the automotive industry for Alliance, which is Renault and Nissan put together. Having said this, today we are in Chennai. This is our hometown as business, and very happy to be here amongst all the friends of the industry, media, and the politics. And it's my pleasure to talk about South India and the summit, which is covering the media as such, which had been a great help for us to progress in the Indian automotive industry. And the South India, which constitutes 5 states with rich culture, heritage, and cuisines, various cuisines which I love. And also we have a lot of diversity and unity together, which is very unique in its own way in Indian demography. Despite having this diversity as each state, by language or by culture or by festivals, we all have one thing in common, that is the ability to understand the civilization which we are all in. You might be very surprised that as Renault, we sell the highest number of cars in these 5 states in India. And our biggest market is for quid is Kerala and Karnataka. And why we have this so much of volumes or the diversity in these states is because of educational level, what these states cover. Being Kerala the #1 in the educational literacy levels, and other states are also highly literal. And these 5 states houses aerospace, IT, automotive, and so on. It's a very strong powerhouse of India, which we all have to believe that 5 states contribute to a large extent of our GDP, and we are the pioneers to continue upon. Now on the media side, media of these 5 states are a little more secluded. I don't know why, but the experts can comment on this. But it helps to the corporate world in covering up our advertisement by state, by people, by their cultures and festivals. It helps us a lot. And when you go for a pan-India advertising, we have to go for a larger extent at a higher cost. And these 5 states give us a lot of advantage because of their literacy level, understanding of people, the way they are disciplined, and compared to the rest of the India. And we have a very strong culture here of sharing each other. And this helps a lot in the business. And therefore, this promotes a large amount of corporate business in these 5 states. Having said this, I request that media also have to collaborate and cooperate with the corporates so that we also do some social responsibility to fulfill, and we send the message as strong as possible on cleanliness, which is Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, and we are large contributors as corporate to this world, and we as corporate and media together have a large responsibilities towards social status of the people. As the social status of the people increase, this large business comes in, and the media also improves its position. But however, sorry to say this, Arnab, but the focus in 5 states of India has very less people who are advertisers compared to Mumbai or Delhi. We need to move them, get their focus into southern part of India so that there's a full concentration of business growth. Here, the business will grow moving forward much rapidly than the rest of India, as we see what is happening. With a lot of intellectual knowledge, lot of R&D centers, IT industries, and automotive industries growing in this place, it's necessary that we start focusing in these 5 states in a large extent. And it's very important, we all, as corporates, also have to make sure that we deliver this message to the media and take their help in enhancing the whole business approach. We also, as corporates, sometimes also tend to go to the North India's advertisers, and use their network for putting our advertisement and campaigning ourselves. So it is also my responsibility, which I need to take a correction in the course of advertising, that we have to give the importance to the southern part of India. So as a whole, between the media as well as the corporates, we have to make sure and collaborate and understand each other so that the civilization in the portion of southern 5 states are well addressed and taken care. So with this, I thank you all the people here, as well as the organizers of this meeting, and I hope that we will work together moving forward and ensure a great success for these 5 states. Thank you very much, and a great day.
Thank you, sir. Please stay back. And thank you for reiterating the true potential of South India. I take this opportunity to invite Mr. Arnab Goswami, Founder and Managing Director, Republic TV, to join us on stage to present a memento, along with Ms. Anjana Ghosh, Director, Marketing and Business Development, Bisleri International Private Limited. Can I request the dignitaries to please come center stage for a photo op? Thank you very much. Our next speaker has helped many brands grow from strength to strength, and the brain behind Global Media Content and Technology Agency. I request Mr. Kartik Sharma, CEO Wavemaker South Asia, to give us a bird's eye view of South India Media Summit.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry for the slight delay. Vanakkam, Chennai. So it's a huge privilege for me to be here for the second edition of the Media Summit. Great job done by Fourth Dimension, Shankar, Bharat, and everyone. A lot of familiar faces, friends, clients, partners. So when I came last year, it was an eye-opener of what actually the South India scene is. While as media planners, buyers, we were aware of it, but coming on ground and actually seeing the energy was really, really good. Couple of points which I want to share with you all. I've been speaking to a lot of our clients and media partners in the last few months. And my thought was, basis all that speech, let's do something different. Does this work? Let's grow flowers in the desert. Intriguing. Why flowers? Why desert? The reason is when I speak to all these marketers, media friends, it's not a great feeling in the last couple of months. While the potential is unlocked and huge for South, and all of us know that, the sentiment right now is not very good. And even before I entered, I met up with some of our friends in Hindu, and I don't think anybody was too happy about what was really happening in the economy. And why is this really happening? There are some trends, we all know this, but let's put it in context to see and what we can do. And the whole attempt in the next 5 or 7 minutes is the current situation, how can we kind of grapple and come out of this? The Economist wrote an article in October 2018 talking of a possible recession. I hate this word. I hope that India doesn't get into this. Happy to see media has not started using this word. And please don't use this word. I think we can, there's no recession in that sense. But it definitely seems to be a kind of a slowdown which is happening. If you were to see, our friend and sir from Renault spoke about auto, while his company may not have got that affected, but overall the sentiment, auto is a lead indicator for economy, and there is no public secret. Maruti cut down its production 6th month in a row, and there was news around that. Not a great feeling. A significant portion of the GDP comes out of the auto sector. Similarly, a very disturbing trend, unemployment rate, historic high for after 45 years, something which the media picked up but was not spoken enough. And there are trends of this already happening. Maybe some of us are feeling this already. Not a good trend. 7 out of the 16 industries which are critical for growth, down. That's what some of these facts many of you veterans out here would know. Look at the GDP, it's down. While yes, we want to get into 5 trillion or maybe even more, current trends are not looking that good. Again, a cause of worry. And these are again things which I picked up from all our clients and the media partners. It's kind of jolting. It's not going unless you come back to a 7-8%. You're not going to hit. Probably more close to 9% is when you will hit that. Yes, minister spoke about 7th economy, but let's also put it in context. 2 years ago, we were the 5th largest economy. We've slipped 2 points in just a year and a half. Again, not a great story. All of this actually is giving a kind of sense which I've captured during my conversations with a lot of people out. And what really do we do? How do we come out of this? Are there some strategies, options, magical thing? Somewhere when you go back to your own respective places and sit and start seeing, and if numbers don't happen, particularly if you're in corporate, it is worrisome. You almost feel like you need some kind of Superman, some power to help us come out of this. Many of you know this gentleman, Christopher Reeve. Great Superman in the real life, and later in life, something tragic happened, and he turned into this. Before he died a couple of years ago, he had a bad accident in 95 and had to be put a pipe. He couldn't breathe. It's a great story of how human mind can fight any kind of trauma. And I picked up a great inspiration from the Superman himself. And he said, if you choose hope, anything is possible. And that really summarizes what we as a team, not only here in South, but overall as India, if we really choose hope, we can overcome anything. And the recent example of the Chandrayaan mission is towards that, I think. So human beings have this great ability, resilience to come and fight anything. So with that thought in mind, I'm going to give a couple of strategies, ideas on how we could come. This is not an exhaustive list. This is what we believe some of it can work now. 5 principles of unlocking growth. And here you will see in the next couple of slides a sentiment which is captured both from the marketer's world, whether you're an agency or whether you are a media owner. So the first one, advertising is largely, even today, we spray and pray. We do a lot of advertising, we create good copies, and we hope something happens. But if you really were to see the bottom of the chart, what we call the consumer journey or the consumer purchase journey, it's like a circle, right? It's nothing but there is priming. A priming means people have made a thought, a mental thought of which brand they want to buy or engage with, even before advertising has started coming in, or some influence of advertising. Then some trigger happens. Then actual purchase happens. Then you're actively looking for it. And we run some very large surveys globally. We have till date about 700,000 consumer journeys. This year we'll cross about 1 million. The largest consumer purchase journey data in the world, followed by McKinsey. And what we see across the study that we do globally, including India, are that 49% of the people, almost half of the population, have a strong idea which brand they will buy even before they have moved out of their place. So that's a very strong information that we can use, and that we call it priming stage, or you're kind of deciding which brand. And why we believe priming stage, which essentially means for marketer, it's not the same media which is going to work. There are depending on which part of the stage you are in, different media will start coming in. It's valuable information both for marketers, for agencies, and also media owners. Because it's not only, so you will see a huge mix of media coming in, depending on where you are on the stage, provided you know this data. What we have seen in sector after sector, if you invest more in the priming stage, you have anywhere between 5x to 9x returns on your business, depending on what sector you are. So if you're services, it's a 9x growth possibility. If you're durable consumer packaged goods. So investing in brand, even in periods where it is a slowdown or a possible recession, is the first thing. So don't lose hope, keep investing. You will see the result. It's like exercise. You go to the gym every single day, you will not lose weight the first 10 days, but magically after 3 months, you will start seeing all that hard work that you've done, you lost a few inches. And you start doing it for a year, everyone says, hey, look, you look great, you look fitter. You start doing it as a period of time, it becomes part of your lifestyle. So advertising in some sense and investment in advertising works this way. That's the first one. The other one you will also notice is that the journeys can be long or fat, short or thin. By this, what I mean is there are 2 axes on the screen. One is the number of actions, which can be high or low, or the number of days. So for example, I'm planning to go on a weekend with my family. I decide today. I just have 2 days. So I can do a lot of activities between now and choosing my travel. I could go to a website, I could talk to friends, I could get influenced by television. A lot of it happening in a very short period of time. So different categories sit differently when you do this research, and that is of huge value. And therefore, again, media plays a different role where you sit on the journey. It can be a long journey, it can be a short journey, and understanding that is of value to the brands. So again, I would urge that for your own categories, even if you do not have a research, start thinking about it intuitively. How much action does it take? And if you can commission research, of course, this data is hugely valuable. That's the first mantra. Moving on, the second one, I think a lot of speakers before me touched upon this. Brands that are meaningfully different in the local context grow in value by a huge margin, 223%. This is data from Brand Z. Brand Z is part of our parent company, WPP, which gets published year on year. This is huge, huge value. And we've seen this, and working closely with media partners actually have enabled this. I'm going to play just one video to bring this alive, and this is a thanks to the Hindu group out here. I can see Navaneeth. Thanks to you and your team. This is the context for this. I will tell you, and then I'll play the video. This is for the brand Cadbury Dairy Milk, a brand most of us could have grown up with. We had a challenge to grow penetration in Tamil Nadu, and yes, we have a creative agency, but when we spoke to our partners in Hindu, I think they came up with a brilliant idea. How do we increase the consumption of chocolates in a market which is kind of stagnant? Was one of the challenges. And the next slide is, can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah, can you play this video? It's a short video, 30 seconds. Just click on that video.
மைசூர் பாக்கு செய்யறது எப்படி நம்ம பார்ப்போம். முதல்ல
ஹாய் மாமு. சாரி. செஃப் தாமு.
Can you try once? Otherwise, we'll move on.
மைசூர் பாக்கு செய்யறது எப்படி நம்ம பார்ப்போம்.
Okay. Don't worry, it's not playing.
முதல்ல
But I'll explain. It's okay. There are not many videos, so sorry for that. Dr. Murphy at play. It's okay. I'll explain that what is there in the video. There is Chef Damu from Tamil Nadu, who is very popular. Actually, Hindu came up with this idea, and this entire ad was done by the Hindu team. It was not done by a creative agency. Sweet Kondatam. Kondatam is festival in Tamil for some of you non-Tamil speaking in here. Essentially, how you can make a sweet, a local sweet using Cadbury chocolate. A very simple idea, powerfully done with local influences, with the local content. Huge impact on market share. Grew by 20-25%. We also saw that then kind of sustained. A lot of people, we invited them to send a recipe. So across Chennai, many of you might have even participated. We got tons of entries of households wanting to participate, and there was a contest. So huge engagement. I think earlier Sir spoke about engagement, so that, though that was not the primary task, that also got ticked off, and the brand is growing well. So I think localized knowledge with the power of media is something that you can still do. You don't need to spend large amount of money for this. The other one is media has always been thought of as a deliverer of audience, right? I have X number of eyeballs or readers. Yes, you can do that. But what if media is actually a business partner? This is a case study from one of our clients, which is FMCG. The task was simple. The brand was not growing in pure awareness. And awareness in these categories tend to help business growth. So we tied up with Star Jalsha, where it was not about GRP, reach and all. We said we will give you money or give you more money if you help increase our awareness. So the first month we advertised, not much happened. Over a 3-month period, that's the result. A 6-point increase in awareness, and also as a byproduct, there were not much other advertising that we were doing, a 32% increase the June to September period, is something that we did. A lot of media companies have started doing this. So locally here in South, this is both an opportunity for marketers to explore, for agencies to explore, and media partners also to come forward and clearly demonstrate you're not just a deliverer of audience. That sounds very, low in my kind of hierarchy of things, but actually a true business partner. And there is a kind of a slab thing that you could do. The more results you deliver, more money you get. I don't think marketers would mind that. And it's a very interesting model. Number 4 is unleash the power of data. I think enough has been spoken about internet, so I'm not going to belabor that. But today, it is just not the Google or the Facebook who are data partners. Each one of you here who are running a business, imagine you are a travel company. You are sitting with tons of consumer data yourself. What if that were to come in partnership with, say, a newspaper or a magazine or an OTT player? What you can unlock in value is humongous. There are early signs of this happening, even in India, but I think each of you are sitting on tons of data, and if you're not using that data, I think you're missing an opportunity. So I would encourage a lot of brands, not just to think of a one way where you can only get information from the media owner or agency, but also how you can use your own data. Of course, all the data protection laws, all those those are the bare minimum that you have to cross. But today's day and age, it's not that difficult. In fact, as a company, we follow the strictest GDPR laws. But I would urge a lot of you. In the bottom, I have put a logo of, say, Sun Next, which is the OTT player. What if any of these brands came together with you? Or you go to the brands, and what value unlocking you can do is humongous. And geography really doesn't matter, because this is all digital data. The last but not the least is Rome was not built in a day. So I would urge, think long term. Brands which have advertised during slowdown recession period have gained significantly. We have tons of studies, over 100 studies published globally. I don't think we need to re-establish that fact. For many marketers and agencies, what if we were to go to your media partner? Don't do a monthly deal. What if you were to do a 3-year deal or a 5-year deal? Yes, there is a risk involved, and you can mitigate that risk, but the returns that you're going to get in. So for some of our clients, we have started doing a 3-year deal, and these are massive deals. And today, when a slowdown is happening, I think many of our media partners here would also like to get that money. You can get fantastic value. And if you were to wear the hat of a business partner on top of this, I think value unlock is going to be humongous both sides. So as I said, there are maybe 100 other ways to do this. The idea is to just kind of start this thinking process in mind, and by no means this is an exhaustive list. I would urge that really break boundaries. The potential of South India, everybody out here knows, and speakers before me have gone into details on the potential. Most importantly, collaborate. If we do this, I'm sure we can get here. We can collectively grow. If you think we are headed towards a desert, I can promise you, you will see a lot more flowers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. The number game, the challenges, thank you for putting things in perspective. We request you to stay back. We'd like to thank you with the memento. I take this opportunity to invite Mr. Balakrishnan, VP South 4th Dimension, and Mr. Babu, AVP South 4th Dimension, to join us on stage. The fellow state, a fantastic speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, nice big round of applause for Mr. Kartik Sharma.